What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to be comparing two of Nike's daily trainers, and those are the Nike Pegasus 41s, which are some of my favorite daily trainers out on the market currently, versus the Nike Vomero 18, which is Nike's brand new maximum cushion daily trainer. So in this Nike battle, we're going to compare and contrast these two Nike daily trainers and see which one you guys should buy. So let's get right into it. As always, we are going to start off with the outsoles on both of these shoes, and to be honest, both of them are very similar outsole patterns. So on the top, we have the Nike Vomero 18, and on the bottom, we have the Pegasus 41. And as you can see, or I'm gonna try to get closer to the camera, you can see that they are pretty similar, but the Vomero 18 does have a little bit of a different pattern, but both of them use the same waffle lugs that Nike really loves to put on their running shoes. Now, I'm not exactly sure if both of them are the same exact rubber compound, but to the touch, they do feel a little bit similar, and they do feel like they are on the softer side. So how did traction on both of these perform? I would say around average. I typically ran in good weather conditions on the road. I did run a lot in the Pegasus 41, kind of on a multitude of different surfaces. So on the trails, on the beach, the waffle lugs on the 41s really held up well when it came to traction. I think that it gripped the floor plenty. It wasn't like I was sticking to the ground, but I never really thought about the traction at all, which is what you want in a running shoe. Same goes for the Vomero 18s. I thought that the traction was very solid. Kind of also going on a multitude of different surfaces. I didn't really have any issues with the Vomero 18s as well. If I were to give a slight edge when it came to traction, I would maybe say that the Pegasus 41s are a touch better, just because, as you can see on the bottoms, the waffle lugs on the 41s, which is on my left, are a little bit more tight knit, and there are more of them. And I think that Nike on the Vomero 18, since it is a bigger shoe, they wanted to cut a little bit of weight, so they didn't put as many waffle lugs on the Vomero 18. So it's not a super big deal unless you're really looking into the traction of both of these shoes, but I would say both are around average, and you should not be worried about the traction on both of these shoes. You should be fine, but if I were to give a slight edge, it would be on the Pegasus 41's side. Now, when it comes to durability, it's a little bit tricky to say. Honestly, I lost count of how many miles I have on the Pegasus 41. This has been one of my favorite daily trainers on the market right now, as I said before. And I've been kind of wearing these everywhere, whether that's easy runs, not so much long runs right now, but because I've been testing a lot of different shoes, but just on easy runs, I've been wearing them out to the grocery store, walking, hiking, kind of doing everything in this shoe just because it fits my foot so well, but we'll get into that in the upper section. But the durability on the 41 seemed to be holding up just fine. For a heavier runner or a bigger runner like myself, I typically don't expect outsoles to last super long, and I think that the Pegasus 41 is going to be around average when it comes to durability on the outsole. So far, I do see a lot of degradation of the rubber outsole. I'm not exactly sure if you guys will be able to see it, but there is still plenty of life left. I would say that I'm probably halfway through its life cycle, and I have at least 150 miles on the Pegasus 41. So I do think that this shoe is going to eat up the miles if you would like it to. And the traction, even though it is on the softer side on the outsole, I think that it will still hold up for at least an average amount of time, if not maybe a little bit below average, as the lugs are a little bit softer. Now, when it comes to the Vomero 18's durability, I have a lot less miles on this shoe because I just got them. I have around 40 to 45 miles on this pair now. And the waffle lugs, they lost their little nub that Nike usually puts on these, but with that being said, I still feel like these will last kind of around the same distance as the Pegasus 41. So I would say durability on the outsole of the Vomero 18 is around average, maybe slightly below average when it comes to strictly the outsole. And the reason I say strictly the outsole is because the durability of the cushions, I think I'm questioning a little bit more, which we'll get right into right now. So moving on to the cushion setup of the Pegasus 41 as well as the Vomero 18s. We'll start off with the Pegasus 41. So going over the specs really quickly, once again, we have 37 millimeters of stack height in the heel, dropping to 27 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. You get a full length React X foam, and there are two zoom units, one in the heel and one in the forefoot in the Pegasus 41. Now in the Vomero 18, it is a very, very different setup. So Nike blessed us with 46 millimeters of stack height in the heel, dropping to 36 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. You get a full length React X foam on the bottom of the midsole. Kind of hard to see. I don't exactly know how much React X foam is on the bottom layer, and on the top layer, as you can see in big bold branding, you get a nice slab of Zoom X cushion. So as you can tell, the difference in stack height is quite different between these two, but the reason I'm comparing these two is because they both are non-plated daily trainers, and just in case, you know, any consumers out there or any of y'all watching wanted to see the difference between the two, because it is only a $10 difference, I wanted to make this video for y'all. So how did these cushion setups perform? I would say that the Nike Zoom Pegasus 41 is a little bit more firm. The React X does feel softer than previous generations in my opinion, and the Nike Zoom units in the forefoot and the heel, I personally felt quite a bit, and I actually really enjoyed the ride of the Pegasus 41. It is definitely a little bit more on the firm side, but when you're comparing it to maybe like a Saucony foam or an Asics foam, I would say that it still feels relatively soft. So you get a nice balance of firm and soft, which is gonna give you kind of a balanced ride. Not too soft, not too plush, not too hard, and you are gonna get a little bit of bounce back with those Zoom units, especially later in the miles on your long runs. I do feel like Nike Zoom units are a little bit more consistent than traditional foams in basically every shoe, just because the Zoom will always kind of be there under your foot, and I personally always felt like it stayed the same when it comes to feeling and response, even throughout my long runs. So that's really important to me. The stability of the cushion setup as well on the Nike Zoom Pegasus 41s is very good. It does have a wide base in the heel and a wide base in the forefoot. So honestly, it's one of my favorite setups for daily trainers. It's not gonna wow or amaze you every time you put the shoe on, but it is going to be pretty comfortable, pretty firm. It's gonna be able to train your muscles and just your legs really well while still keeping you pretty protected, especially compared to previous Pegasus models in my opinion. So that is the Nike Pegasus 41's cushion setup. Now, how did the Vomero 18's cushion setup feel? I thought it was a great setup, plain and simple. I think for a max cushion type of daily trainer, I think that they did the best that they could with Nike's Zoom X on the top and React X on the bottom. I honestly think that Zoom X isn't the most durable super foam, as well as it's not really the bounciest super foam. So when I saw the Zoom X on this shoe, I wasn't expecting to like jump out the gym or like, you know, get huge energy return. But what it did provide was a pretty soft and plush, comfortable ride. Definitely this shoe is softer than the Pegasus 41. So if you prefer soft cushioning and you want a super high stack height, then I think the answer is pretty clear. The Vomero is probably gonna be your winner. I think where this shoe shines over the Pegasus 41 is on the long runs. I thought that with a 16-mile run in these, I actually ran it pretty fast for my standards. I was really comfortable in the Vomero 18s, and I thought that it was a great training shoe for long runs. The reason I say that too is because I thought that with the stack height being a little bit lower with that 10mm heel to toe drop, it gave the toe offs a little bit more ground feel, and it made me feel a little bit faster or a little bit more nimble, even though this is a pretty chunky shoe and it is a max cushion shoe. I thought that it added a lot of versatility when it came to the cushion setup, while still providing maximum impact absorption and kind of like taking care of my body and helping me recover a little bit faster on my run. So with all that being said, especially without a plate, I think that this shoe on long runs is amazing. Now, if I wanted to do a little bit more all around runs, you know, I'm maybe running a little bit more tempo runs and I could only pick one shoe, I think that the Pegasus 41 is gonna definitely be better for that. I would say that if you're not running over, you know, 14 to 16 miles in this shoe, or you're not planning on running over 14 to 16 miles in a shoe, I would say that the Pegasus 41 setup should be just fine. It's gonna train your leg muscles. It's also gonna be pretty comfortable doing it. And also you're just gonna feel a little bit lower to the ground, a little bit more nimble. It's less bulky of a shoe than the Vomero 18s. But I would say that if you're training for a marathon and you're looking for a little bit something extra, I think that the Vomero 18 definitely has the edge over the Pegasus 41. So again, it's all about preference as well. If you're looking for a firmer setup, I think that the Pegasus 41 is definitely gonna be your shoe. If you want a little bit softer of a setup, but don't wanna lose too much ground feel, I think that the Vomero 18s is gonna be a fantastic option. Quickly touching on stability on the Vomero 18s, I think that it's around the same as the Pegasus 41s. I feel like the base width of both of these shoes are pretty similar, and I'll get into that on the fit section, which is coming up next. But the stability on the Vomero 18s, I didn't personally have any problems as long as you're typically running in neutral shoes and you're not super overpronator or you're not a super supinator. I think you should be good to go in the Vomero 18s. But keep in mind, it is a higher stack and you might feel a little bit higher off the ground. So make sure your running form's on point. So for the cushion setup, it's a toss-up. I can't really pick a winner in my opinion because I love both of these shoes when it comes to cushion. It depends what use case you're planning to put these shoes through. So that kind of would alter my decision. But if I was looking for an all-around shoe, more so an all-around shoe, and also I wanted to go to the gym and run errands and stuff, I would pick the Pegasus 41. But if I'm more so training for a marathon and I can only pick one of the two, I would definitely pick the Vomero 18 because it's gonna give you that extra comfort. It's gonna protect your joints and your knees and everything a little bit better than the Pegasus 41 while still giving you the versatility where you feel like you can pick up the pace just a touch. Moving on to the uppers of both of these shoes. First of all, I wanna touch on fit. Fit is probably the most important thing when it comes to running shoes. I think personally the Pegasus 41's fit is perfect. It works really well with my foot. I have a slightly wider than average foot, size 12. I typically wear normal size 12s in all my running shoes. No wide or extra wide, just the normal size 12, and the regular size 12 in the Pegasus 41 fit my foot perfectly. So if you do have a little bit of a wider foot, I think that the Pegasus 41 is going to take care of you very well. Not to say that if you go true to size in the Vomero 18s, that's not going to take care of you as well. I do feel that the Vomero 18s do have a little bit more room in the toe box than the Pegasus 41s. I do like that little bit more of a snug fit that the Pegasus 41s provide. But yeah, the Vomero 18s are gonna give you a little bit more toe room, so if you're into that, then you're probably gonna prefer this shoe a little bit more. Both of the shoes had fantastic heel lockdown. I didn't have any complaints with either. The Pegasus 41, I do wanna know, I didn't even have to do the runner's loop and I still got great heel lockdown, whereas the Vomero 18, I did have to do the runner's loop, but once I did it, perfect heel lockdown, no complaints there. So Vomero 18 runs a little bit wider, a little bit more roomy than the Pegasus 41, but I still believe that both of them are true to size. And if you don't have either of these to kind of gauge the foot size, I would say like whatever you wear in your traditional Nike shoes should be the right size in these shoes. Now, when it comes to the uppers, I personally prefer the Pegasus 41's upper a little bit more than the Vomero 18's, and for a couple reasons. I think that the Pegasus 41's upper feels a little bit lighter and a little bit less clunky or bulky than the Vomero 18's. I think that the mesh upper on the Vomero 18 is a little bit thick, and even though both of these shoes don't have great ventilation, I think that the Pegasus 41's upper just feels a little bit thinner, and due to that nicer fit for my foot personally, I think that just worked really well for my foot, and I really enjoyed the upper on the Pegasus 41. I think it could even be more breathable, but not all shoes can be perfect. So I would say that the upper is a little bit more close to your foot. It's a little bit more minimal, whereas the Vomero 18 is more of a plush upper. And if you like the feeling of plush uppers and you don't mind a lack of ventilation, then the Vomero 18's upper is gonna be just fine. Both of them have mesh uppers, so you should be good to go. Another thing to note is I do like the lacing setup on the Pegasus 41s a little bit more. As I said in the Vomero 18's review, it didn't really affect performance just yet, but I don't like when brands do that little string as the eyelet, because once that string breaks, or if it ever breaks, you can't really tie your shoe anymore, whereas the Pegasus 41s kind of have a more traditional eyelet. I don't even think these are too traditional, but it just looks like it's gonna be a little bit more durable, and I have put these shoes through the ringer. As you can see, it's very, very dirty. So overall, I think that both of these shoes are fantastic daily trainers. I've been really enjoying a lot of Nike's recent models. I don't really agree, as I've said many times before, with their whole Nike restructuring of the running line. So the Pegasus Plus, the Pegasus Turbo. Apparently the Vomero is gonna get a Vomero Plus and a Vomero Premium. Don't exactly know when those will come out and how they're gonna change up this, because I thought that they did a really good job with the standard Vomero. But if you're choosing between the two, as I said in the cushion setup, I would say that's the biggest difference between these two. If you're training more for a marathon, or you want a little bit extra comfort, I think that the Vomero 18 is going to take care of you just fine. And if you're looking for an all-around daily trainer, you're not really looking to train for a whole marathon, maybe you're training for a half marathon, I think that the Pegasus 41 is going to be a little bit more low profile. It's going to train your muscles a little bit better, and you're also going to get a little bit more of a firm and responsive feel, which I personally really like in my daily trainers. So you can't really go wrong with either of these shoes. I think that you're going to be well taken care of. Another thing that I forgot to talk about was the cushion durability. I think I said that the Pegasus 41's cushion durability is going to be better than the Vomero 18's. I stand by that. Even though that these shoes, even when they compress, because it's just foam versus these have 2 Zoom Air units, I think that once this foam compresses, maybe after 100, maybe 200 miles, I'm not exactly sure when it'll compress. Since the stack height is pretty high, I think it'll still absorb a little bit of impact, similar to the New Balance More V5s that I've reviewed. But I do think that it's not gonna feel as plush and as comfortable as you put more miles on the shoe, because in my experience, Nike's cushion setups or midsole setups tend to flatten out or bottom out, which is normal with every shoe company. I just like when they put Zoom Air units, because for me, as a bigger runner, they don't compress as much, or they kind of feel the same for a longer period of time. So if cushion durability is something that you're also keeping in mind, I think that the Pegasus 41 wins in that category. So overall, like I said, if you're training for a marathon, you want something extra, I think that the Vomero 18 is well worth the extra $10 in retail price at $150 versus the Pegasus 41s. If you're looking more for a great gym shoe or just a shoe to walk around, walk the dogs, maybe go on a casual run or two, I think that this is going to be a perfect shoe. And since these came out a little bit of a while ago, I think that these you can find on sale for maybe around $100 or under $100. I think that if you see it at that price and you're comparing it to the $150 retail price of the Vomero 18s, I think the choice is pretty clear to get the Pegasus 41s. They would definitely be a better value. The only time I would recommend paying full price for the Vomero 18s is if you're definitely training for a marathon and you prefer that more plush feel. So that's gonna pretty much wrap up my comparison between the Nike Pegasus 41 and the Nike Vomero 18. Again, I don't think you can go wrong with either. And if you wanted to get both, if you got it like that, or you wanna build a nice Nike running rotation, I think that this is gonna be really perfect. I'm really happy personally that I have both of these shoes, because I still, even though I finished reviewing them and I'm gonna do some more comparisons with them, I still really enjoy wearing both of these shoes. But unfortunately, you know, I'm gonna keep testing other shoes, so I won't be able to wear these as much as I would like to. But I think that these two shoes are fantastic, and yeah, you can't go wrong with either of them. So that's gonna pretty much wrap up my comparison. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you found this comparison informative as well as maybe a little bit entertaining. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.